Hello, you're watching TVP World News. I'm Jonasz Robiński. Today marks the third anniversary of Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine, with events across the world commemorating the victims of Russian war crimes and celebrating the resilience of Ukraine's defenders. We'll be bringing you more on this story in a moment. First, however, the latest update on the parliamentary elections in Germany. The German elections concluded on Sunday, with exit polls predicting a victory for the conservative CDU under Friedrich Merz. The party leader said, and I quote, he is in close contact with many prime ministers, heads of government of the European Union, and it must be an absolute priority to strengthen Europe as quickly as possible so that step by step Europe achieves independence from the United States. However, the path to forming a coalition remains uncertain. For the latest developments, we go live now to our correspondent Sasha Farbach in Berlin. Sasha, so can you tell us what are the latest developments? And to what degree can we say that Friedrich Merz is going to become the country's next chancellor?
Hi there, Jonas. Good morning again. Yes, as you've alluded there, very strong ties already reaching out to European leaders. I mean, he's not chancellor yet, but I think in all measures and forms, he will likely be the head of the new German government. Now, the CDU, let's just go through those preliminary results at this point in time. We have those from the federal returning officer. Now, these are the first preliminary official results as CDU very much at the top, looking at about 28.6% of the vote. Then second, the AfD gaining about to 20.8%. Second strongest in the German Bundestag. Then looking at Olaf Scholz, the outgoing chancellor, his party did very, very poorly, one of the worst results in that party's history, about 16.4%. The Greens at about 11.6%. Now the left has secured about 8.8%. And then we have the parties from the former coalition, the pro-business free FDP, looking at 4.3%. So they did not get that 5% threshold. Same with the BSW, that's the Bundesrat Wagenknecht, this very far left radical party, some would say, also did not make it into the Bundestag. Now, what's also telling here, I just want to share in the latest sort of hours, so we've had a chance to speak to some Germans looking at some of the information as well. And also for young voters, it's interesting, I think, if we look at young voters between about 18 to 24 years old, many of them gravitated to the far left or the far right. If we're looking at AfD around 21% and the left 26%. Now, that may have to do with those parties online, their presence online has swayed a lot of young voters. But also, let's look at some of that euphoria and that confidence of Friedrich Merz at Konrad Adenauer House, the CDU headquarters last night.
Now we will have to wait for further election results. But the conclusion is clear. And what have I been saying for the last few days? Tonight, a serious party is allowed here at Konrad Adenauer House. Tonight we will celebrate, and starting tomorrow morning we will work. Dear friends, once again, welcome to Adenauer House. Welcome to where the Conservatives' victory was achieved and where it will be celebrated tonight. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your support. Thank you for the government mandate which the Conservatives received today. Thank you.
Now, you said they're getting to work. That's already happening right now. As we said, he's already said very strong words, saying very much that we need to have that independence of security from the United States. Very much, he says, we shouldn't wait on that. Now, there's potentially a coalition being formed even before Easter. That's also what we're hearing. But I think what's important here is that Friedrich Merz is very much a convinced Atlanticist, someone who wants to reestablish a strong European presence, a stronger Germany, keeping those alliances also with Eastern partners, Poland included. We had a chance to speak to the head of touring at one of the states here in Germany last night. Interesting words, what he told us about relationships towards Eastern partnerships.
This is too early to tell when it comes to the government policy initiatives, but the belief of the CDU is that when we are working together in Europe closely and when we stand united, then we are much stronger, and we will help our European friends because we believe, starting from Konrad Adenauer and Helmut Kohl, that this is the right way to go, and specifically our Polish partners will be a crucial ally when it comes to bringing back this European idea.
So we don't have a coalition quite yet, but we can already see that the behavior of Mr. Merz seems that he's very confident about forming an alliance here, and also a Germany that's going to be much more on par with European partners in the very near future. That's the latest. Jonas, back to you in the studio.
Sasha Farbach there, bringing us the latest live from Berlin. Sasha, thank you very much for joining us. Now we're moving on, and the elections in Germany sparked comments all around Europe. Overnight, leaders of France, the United Kingdom and Ukraine all took to social media to congratulate the prospective winner, Friedrich Merz. France's President Emmanuel Macron went on to say he is determined to work toward a strong and sovereign Europe, while Keir Starmer, the UK's Prime Minister, declared he intends to deepen the British-German security partnership.
I have just spoken with Friedrich Merz to congratulate him on his victory in the Bundestag elections. I also had a conversation with Olaf Scholz this evening to express my friendship. We are more determined than ever to achieve great things for France and Germany together and to work toward a strong and sovereign Europe. In these times of uncertainty, we stand united to face the great challenges of the world and our continent. Congratulations to Friedrich Merz and CDU-CSU for the results in Germany's election. I look forward to working with the new government to deepen our already strong relationship, enhance our joint security, and deliver growth for both our countries. I congratulate the CDU-CSU and Friedrich Merz on their victory in the Bundestag elections. A clear voice from the voters, and we see how important this is for Europe. Europe must be able to defend itself, develop its industries, and achieve the necessary results. Europe needs shared successes, and those successes will bring even greater unity to Europe.
The 24th of February is the third-year mark of the beginning of Russia's full-scale war against Ukraine. European leaders are arriving in Kyiv to commemorate this solemn anniversary, and talks with President Zelensky are expected later on during the day. While in the Ukrainian capital, head of the European Commission Ursula von der Leyen is expected to announce a new support package for Ukraine worth over 3.5 billion euros. Our reporter Oskar Kateji has more.
It is a bitterly cold morning here in Kyiv on February 24th, the third anniversary of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, and world leaders are putting on a show of strength and unity, turning up here in Kyiv for commemorations of the third anniversary and for further discussions with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. We have the European Council President Antonio Costa, the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, who said, "We are in Kyiv today because Kyiv is Europe." Now, these words will be warmly welcomed here in Ukraine, particularly in light of the growing war of words between US President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Among those attending were the Spanish PM, the Canadian Prime Minister, the Latvian President, the Lithuanian President, the Estonian Prime Minister, the Finnish, Danish, Norwegian and Swedish leaders are also in the country to pay their respects to those who have died fighting this brutal war, which began 3 years ago with the full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine commenced. Now, out of the United States, we also have further lines with regards to the potential peace negotiations. The United States Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff, in a conversation with CNN, reported that he believed that the Americans were close to reaching some sort of agreement with the Russians, and he said that they would be basing those agreements around the Istanbul communique. Those that will remember at the start of the full-scale invasion, Russian officials and Ukrainian officials did have preliminary talks in Istanbul based on ending the war, but the Ukrainians viewed the Istanbul communique as a surrender document in all but words. It would have left Ukraine demilitarized and without the ability to make its own alliances as a sovereign state. This is something the Ukrainians were not interested in signing 3 years ago. It's unlikely they'd be interested in signing such a document today, 3 years into the war. So if this is the basis for the Russian demands from the United States, and if the United States seems to be going along with this, they're going to find real reluctance here in Kyiv to sit down and negotiate based on these terms, at least for the foreseeable future. It's Oskar Kateji reporting from Kyiv for TVP World.
The first commemorations of the third anniversary of the full-scale war with the Russian Federation have begun in Ukraine. Our correspondent Don Arleth is in the suburbs of Kyiv's Bucha, a place marked by unforgivable war crimes against civilians. Don, how are this year's commemoration ceremonies looking like, and what can we expect to happen during this important anniversary, this poignant occasion?
Right. Well, it's a very sunny day here in near Kyiv in Bucha, but it's a very somber day as well. The first commemorations were held today in Irpin, which is nearby Bucha, as well as here in Bucha itself at the cemetery. There you have many fallen soldiers, and the ceremonies took place. A prayer service actually took place there. Here we're at this another church in Bucha. This is the famous site of the mass graves the bodies were taken out of the ground and exhumed after the liberation of the city. We got to remember that when Russians came in, they wreaked havoc in this region. Of course, this was the target of their attack, the Hostomel airport, not far from here, where they tried to encircle Kyiv, and in doing so, ended up killing about 1,700 civilians or more, as well as here in the city itself, 700 people. Remember those horrible images of bodies strewn throughout the streets, civilians just killed essentially by Russian troops, horrible Russian war crimes as they were going about their daily business. And of course, this is the somber site and the wall of remembrance here for all of those civilians who were killed during the Russian occupation that lasted about until April. So there are more events planned here in Irpin and in Bucha, and here at the Wall of Remembrance, of course, these events are just about to get underway. Jonas, now back to you.
Don Arleth reporting live from Bucha, the site of one of the worst crimes committed by the Russians following the commencement of their invasion. Don, thank you very much for being here with us today. And now we're moving on. Officials in Brussels have agreed on the 16th package of sanctions against the Russian Federation. Foreign ministers of the bloc decided to add to the sanctions list 48 more individuals and 35 entities responsible for actions undermining or threatening Ukraine's national integrity. The Council of the European Union established 2 new criteria that will allow the European Union to impose restrictions on individuals and institutions that operate Putin's shadow fleet. Additionally, further vessels have been added to the port access ban list. The measures will target non-EU tankers that are part of Vladimir Putin's fleet circumventing the oil price cap mechanism. For the first time, the EU is also imposing a transaction ban on credit and financial institutions established outside Russia that use the system for money transfers by the Russian Central Bank. Additionally, the EU's foreign ministers decided to expand the list of items that contribute to development of Russia's military systems, outlawing the sales of riot control agents, chemical precursors, numerical control machines, and controllers used to guard unmanned aerial vehicles.
We need to step up as well. We need to increase the rapid military support to Ukraine, as we have done as well. Estonia has increased by 25% our military support, and our Prime Minister will announce it in Kyiv today. But also we need to seize the Russian frozen assets, 300 billion in Europe, and we need to allow Ukraine continue fighting for its freedom.
And with this, we conclude our news bulletin. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.